Some of the topics during the weekend will be the different domains of change, domains of attention, and domains of the self, what you would call the self. And we'll go into quite a bit of categories of what these ideas are. And I think the first thing when thinking about this workshop and the ideas of how change happens and what change is it's important when we'll go through the weekend for people to think for themselves, what is it that they have as meaning for change? And what categories of change when it comes to mind, particularly when you do an abilities through movement, what is it that you think of? Okay, so please lie on your back. As anyone that lies on their back for whatever they're doing, just check into yourself. You can do this with your eyes open and your eyes closed. Observe how you sense yourself on the floor, your overall sensation of yourself, whatever that has meaning for you. Okay, and it's best if you can to do this with your legs long to begin with. Obviously, if you cannot, then certainly you can keep them bent or whatever position is most comfortable for you. And observe how you notice what sensations you have and what's important for you, and just notice more or less one side, more or less the other side of your body. And now bend your right leg and put your right foot on the floor so your knee is facing the ceiling. Okay? And something that is very common to many of you in all different methodologies we're going to start with, just lift the right side of your pelvis and roll your pelvis to the left, but leave your knee directly to the ceiling. This is what you need to do. You need to leave your knee directly to the ceiling. So that's very specific. Your knee has to stay directly to the ceiling. Okay? And lift and roll your pelvis. However you want to do it, you can do it quickly, you can do it slowly, you can work hard, you can work soft, but leave the knee directly to the ceiling. So really directly to the ceiling. Lift the pelvis, roll it. Notice how it travels through your spine, what work you do to do this, and what you're looking for to feel what this does to you, or if you're looking to have yourself feel better with it, however you do. Okay, and notice what that's like. Stay with your leg bent and just wait there for a moment. And now tilt your right knee somewhat inwards, not completely inwards, but certainly so it's not to the ceiling and it's not more than halfway down to the floor. Okay, so you can do that a few times. Just tilt it in. Don't try to improve it. Just find the place to be. Tilt the knee in and just return with the knee to the ceiling. Tilt it in. Just tilt it in. A little bit off center. That's it. Now stay with your knee tilted inwards, please. Okay. And from this position, do the same movement with your pelvis, but keep your knee always tilted in when you lift and roll the pelvis and when you return with the pelvis to the floor. So you have to feel that it's not to the ceiling. It should be clear that it's tilted in. From that position, you lift and roll the pelvis, push with your foot, and let it return, but keep your knee tilted inwards the whole time. So you don't have to tilt the knee farther. It's not about trying to get the knee farther in. It's just about having the knee tilted in and roll your pelvis and return. Lift it and roll it to the left and return. That's good. Wonderful. Come back so that your knee is to the ceiling and just take a rest. So you just stay in the beginning resting position. And now with your right knee, tilt a little bit to the outside. Before we went in, now go a little outside. Okay? Do this a few times till you find a place. It's not about putting the knee on the floor. It's just go a little bit from the knee being in the direction of the ceiling to feeling, yes, it's tilted out now. And leave your knee tilted out. And from this position that your knee is, lift your pelvis and roll it once again to the left. Leave your knee Whatever position you find it in, you leave it there now and roll the pelvis. Okay? So obviously, some will feel a little bit more awkward. Some will feel they do something different. Whatever you do, that's what you do. Just do it. So lift the pelvis and roll it. Don't return to the ceiling. Leave the knee open. That's great. Come back to the middle and now straighten your leg. And notice, even after these 3 movements, do you notice a difference in sensation between your right leg and your left leg? If you do, so I can get a pulse of what group I'm teaching to, just raise your hand. That's great. Very good. Wonderful. So something very simple. People already sense a change. That's great. Now, bend your knee once again. So your right leg, the foot is on the floor, and the knee is to the ceiling. Okay? And leave the knee to the ceiling once again. And now just lift, please, once the inside edge of your foot and once the outside edge of your foot. Okay, so you lift the arch, you leave the knee to the ceiling, and you lift a little bit your arch of your foot, so you're a little bit more on the outside edge, however you do that. And then you lift a little bit the outside edge, so you're a little bit more tilted inwards, but the knee stays to the ceiling. Knee stays to the ceiling. That's great. Okay, just stay there, rest with your leg bent, knee to the ceiling. And now lift once again 2 or 3 times the inside edge of your foot, your arch, and then after about 3 times doing this, just leave it lifted, okay? So you hold the arch. And now with your knee once again to the ceiling, lift the right side of your pelvis, and roll the pelvis to the left. Keep the knee to the ceiling, keep your arch up, and roll your pelvis. So you have to lift the right side of your pelvis, roll it to the left. You have to feel that it lifts off the floor. Keep the arch up. Okay, come to the middle with your knee to the ceiling. Let go of your arch. Stay with your knee to the ceiling. Stay with your leg bent. And now lift your arch and tilt your knee a little bit inwards, like we were before. Okay? And you can either tilt the knee and then lift the arch, or lift the arch and tilt the knee, and then leave it tilted inwards with the arch lifted. Okay? And once again, with the arch lifted, your knee tilted inwards, lift the right side of your pelvis, and then return to the floor, constantly leaving the knee in the position that you've tilted it inwards. And as you return to the floor, the knee stays tilted in and the arch stays up. You can feel how it travels through the body. You can listen to your shoulders. However you want to use your attention, it's really fine. Just make sure the knee stays tilted in, even when you return with the pelvis to the floor and the arch stays up. That's great. Now come back with your knee to the ceiling. However much you've done is fine. Leave the leg bent. Let go of the arch. Stay there for a moment. And now once again, lift the arch of your foot, but this time let your knee tilt a little bit to the outside position. You go a little bit to the outside. So you can do it 2 or 3 times to find out how to coordinate those 2 movements. And now once you're there, you stay there. And once again, with the arch up, the knee to the outside, roll your pelvis to the left, to the left, to the left. And how do you coordinate that? So of course, it's a different situation, so you have to figure out what to do with the pelvis. It might not go as much, doesn't matter. However you do it, just do it. Okay? The knee to the outside, figure out how do you organize your buttock, what do you do with the pelvis, what do you do with the ribs, etc. But you have to roll the pelvis to the left, the knee stays to the outside. That's good. Wonderful. Come back with the knee to the ceiling, remain with the leg bent, please. Remain with the leg bent. Don't straighten the leg. That's right. Just rest, notice your breathing, just remain there for a moment. And now a few times, please lift the outside edge of your foot. Leave the knee to the ceiling. And now at the outside edge, you remain with it lifted. Once again, leaving the knee to the ceiling. Roll your pelvis to the left. Knee to the ceiling. The outside edge of the foot lifted. Roll the pelvis to the left, not to the right. Great, that's plenty. Remain with the knee to the ceiling. Let go of the lifting of the arch, of the outside edge for a moment. And now once again, lift the outside edge. Tilt your knee a little bit to the inside. Till you find that place of the tilting to the inside. Do 2 or 3 times, and then stay there with the outside edge lifted, with the knee tilted to the inside. Lift the right side of your pelvis, roll your pelvis to the left. How do you do that? When you leave the direction that your knee's going constant, particularly when you return to the floor, but with the outside edge lifted, Keiko. Good. Come back with your knee to the ceiling. It's plenty, however you've done it. Stay with the leg bent. And now coordinate yourself so you can lift the outside edge and have the knee tilted to the outside. How do you do that? How do you find out how to do that? Okay, so maybe you have to first lift the outside edge, hold it, and then bring the knee to the outside, or maybe you have to do the knee first to the outside and then lift the edge, or do them simultaneously. However it is, leave the knee to the outside with the outside edge lifted, so the knee is not to the ceiling, and roll the pelvis to the left. That's plenty. Come back to the middle, knee to the ceiling, let go of the foot, and straighten your leg. With your leg now straightened, notice the sensation of the right leg and of the left leg. Okay, and I get a clear pulse of the group. Who notices a difference between the two sides now, not only the leg? That's great. Good. Now, bend the right leg once again. Please put the foot on the floor. And with the knee to the ceiling, without lifting the inside or outside edge, do the first movement we did is lifting the pelvis and rolling it to the left. And notice what that's like now. Notice, does it go smoother? Does it move through the spine more easily? It is a larger movement. Do you feel something different in the buttocks? So you just lift the pelvis and roll it to the left. That's great. 2 or 3 times. So it's not an exploratory movement now, it's just a checking movement. That's right. Good. Okay, and straighten your leg. And let's see who felt now, besides the change of sensation of the 2 legs, who felt a different quality of motion from the first time you rolled the pelvis to the left? That's good. Who felt a difference in the range of motion? That's great. Wonderful. Thank you. So, clear, some people feel a great difference between the 2 sides. Okay. Very good. For some of you that maybe want to check it out in standing, you can quickly come up to standing. Just don't walk around, just stand up for a moment. You can stay on the floor. We're going to do the other leg, but some people like to notice a difference in sensation in standing. Notice if you feel it and how you are up and how you are on the leg. If you notice the difference in sensation, pressure, whatever it is, some feel it more on the ground, some feel it more in the line. When you've done that, come back down to the floor and we'll go on, we'll do the other side. Okay, so of course, because of as an intro and the time limitations, if we do the workshop, we would walk around and we would do things. One thing I do recommend with people that sometimes have tendencies for cramping or whatnot in the feet, just go slow. You have to reduce your effort, find your way, okay? So notice the sensation of the 2 legs and Bend your left leg, put the foot on the floor, have the knee to the ceiling, and lift the pelvis and roll it to the right. The knee stays to the ceiling. And you go back and forth. Okay. Stay with the pelvis on the floor for a moment, the knees to the ceiling. Tilt the knee a little bit to the inside. A few times, noticing where your hip joint is, if you can, the inside muscles of the leg. So it's not about taking the knee to the floor, it's not having the knee to the ceiling. Okay. And then find a place for yourself with the knee tilted a little bit inwards. Stay there and lift the left side of the pelvis and return to the floor constantly with the knee tilted in the same position that you tilted into to begin with. That means you don't tilt it more and you don't lift it in return. So wherever position it is tilted inwards, you stay there and do the movements of the pelvis. Okay, bring the knee to the ceiling. Wait a moment. And tilt the knee a little bit to the outside 2 or 3 times. Well, it doesn't have to be so far, so you just tilt it till you can find the position you want to leave it there. Notice how you feel the hip joint as you tilt it out, this where you think of your hip joint. Leave it a little bit tilted out. Stay in the position that it's tilted out and lift that left side of your pelvis and roll it to the right. Now, of course, some movements for some people, even though the position itself is very basic, for some might feel a little bit more awkward. Some feel a little challenged by a position. Some feel it's all easy. Whatever state you're in each of the positions, just find your way. Doesn't have to be the same amount of movement in each of the positions of the knee. Come back to the ceiling with the knee. Straighten your leg. And notice, after doing without the use of the foot, do you already feel a change of sensation now of the left leg? That's great. Thank you. Come back, bend your leg, put the foot on the floor, the knees to the ceiling. And a few times lift once the inside edge of your foot and once the outside edge of your foot. Good. And now remain with the arch, the inside edge of your foot lifted away from the floor. It doesn't have to be strong. And stay there with the knee to the ceiling and lift the left side of your pelvis and roll your pelvis to the right, keeping the arch lifted all the time. Okay, stay there for a moment. Let go of the arch. Leave your knee to the ceiling. Tilt your knee a little bit to the inside. Find that place of the tilting inwards for yourself. Lift the arch of your foot as you do that. Or first tilt and then do the arch, or do the arch and then tilt, or do it simultaneously. And then stay there and do the same movement of rolling the pelvis with the knee tilted in. The main thing is that you find a way that you leave the direction of the knee the same as you return with the pelvis to the floor, and you remain with the arch lifted. And roll the pelvis, so it's not a question of pushing the knee so far away from the head. It's more trying to lift and roll the whole left side of your pelvis more to the right. That's great. Good. Come back with the knee to the ceiling. Let go of the arch for a moment. Good. Now lift the arch once again. Let your knee tilt a little bit to the outside. Okay, you can do that 2 or 3 times till you find a way to do it, what amount you want to go to the outside. And then you stay there, a little bit tilted outside, arch lifted, and lift the pelvis, roll it to the right. That's great. That's plenty. Stay with the knee bent, please. Stay with the foot on the floor. Come with the knee to the ceiling. Let go of the arch and just wait a moment there. And now lift the outside edge of your foot. Do it 2 or 3 times, leaving the knee to the ceiling. And start to lift the pelvis and roll it to the right, leaving the outside edge of your foot lifted. Knee to the ceiling. That's great. Thank you. Stay with the knee to the ceiling. Let go of the foot for a moment, but stay with the leg bent. And now, once again, lift the outside edge of your foot. Tilt the knee a little bit inwards 2 or 3 times. And then you stay with the knee tilted. Some of you are quick, some of you are slow. You leave the knee tilted a bit inwards. You leave the outside edge of the foot lifted. And then you stay there, and then you lift the pelvis and roll it to the right. Now, of course, whatever strategies you have for doing that, if it's reduction of effort, if it's your breathing, if it's going slower, if it's increasing sensation or going quickly and making it harder, faster, softer, whatever your ways of doing, they're all fine. Good. Come back with your knee to the ceiling one more time. Let go of the outside edge for a moment. Leave the leg bent. And now go to the outside. Let the knee tilt to the outside, but lift the outside edge of the foot. So you have to figure out your way to coordinate that. You can either do it by first lifting the outside edge and then go with the knee. You can do it simultaneously, however you find your way. And then stay with the knee a little bit tilted outside. The outside edge of the foot is lifted, and lift that left side of the pelvis and roll it to the right. Make sure you stay all the time when you return with the pelvis and when you move, but the knee doesn't go farther outside or inside. It tries to stay more or less where it is. That's great. Good. Come back to the middle. Straighten your leg. And notice the sensation now between the two legs without doing any movement to notice any difference in the movement itself. Bend the left leg, put the foot on the floor like we started. Knee to the ceiling, please. And then lift the left side of the pelvis and roll it to the right and see what it's like. And not as an exploratory movement, but see, how is it now? Is it smoother? Is it larger? Is there a different sensation of the rolling? Does it go higher in the spine? That's great. Good. And once you've noticed that for yourself, leave it go, straighten your leg, notice the sensation, overall sensation in yourself, notice the sensation in the legs. This is what we'll do for this particular sequence. And find your way. When you're ready, come and stand up. See what you feel like in the standing. Walk around. So some people, I won't say what the possibilities are, but there's many different things that you can feel. Some feel very different just in the standing, some feel it in the walking, some feel it in the moving of the knees, some feel it in the position of the pelvis, all different things, okay?